Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In our previous video, we solved multiple choice questions from MHT based on the topic pair of straight lines. So this video is going to be in continuation with that. So today we will be solving the MCQs on matrices, okay, from MHT previous year's papers. So we'll start with our first question. If matrix A is a 2 by 2 matrix 1, 2, 3, 4, then A squared minus 5A is equal to 2i minus 2i, 3i and null matrix. Okay. Now if this question had come in the theory examination, then you must first find A raised to 2 or A squared. Then you need to subtract 5a from that and then you will get the answer. But because now this is a multiple choice question, you need not do the entire multiplication operation. Okay. For example, if we look at the four options here, okay, in option A, which is 2i, the first element is going to be 2. In option B, which is minus 2i, this element is going to be minus 2. In option C, that element, that is A11, is going to be 3. And in option D, which is the null matrix, that is going to be 0. So it is enough to find the first element of A squared minus 5a. Okay, if it is 2, then option A. If it is B, then if it is minus 2, then B. If it is 3, then C. And if it is 0, then D. Okay, so what I have done is I have found out A squared, but I have not found out the entire matrix. You can say I have found out the 25% of the matrix, because out of the 4 entries only 1 entry is sufficient. Okay, that is this: 1 into 1, 1, plus 2 into 3, 6, so 7. Okay, now let's go to 5a, that is A squared minus 5a, right? Yeah, now because the first entry here in 5a will be 5, see the other entries will be 10, then 15 and then 20, but we don't need them, right? All we need is the first entry here. Okay, so if you subtract 5a from A squared, that is 7 minus 5, you will get 2. Yes, and that is option A. Okay, so without actually calculating A12, A21 and A22 of both A squared and 5a, we actually got the answer. Okay, and that is option A. Yes, see, in the examination there is no need to continue with the remaining portion of the matrix because you have got the answer. Okay, so please don't waste your time in finding the remaining 3 entries. Okay, but that's not it. This is only the first method. Okay, now I'm going to tell you another method, okay, which is based on a theorem, which is not a part of your syllabus, but you will definitely study the theorem in a subject called as linear algebra, a very important topic in engineering mathematics, perhaps as equally important as the calculus. So let's go to that method. Okay, now this particular method is based on a theorem known as Cayley-Hamilton theorem. Okay, now I will not tell you the statement of Cayley-Hamilton theorem, well, the general statement, but we will stick to any square matrix of order 2. The theorem applies to any square matrix, but let's stick to A2 by 2. Okay, now some of you may know this, that the trace of any matrix is the sum of its diagonal elements. So in this case, for a 2 by 2 matrix, the trace is going to be A plus D. And we also need the determinant of A, which is A into D minus B into C. Okay, now according to the Cayley-Hamilton theorem, for any 2 by 2 matrix, okay, A squared minus trace of A into A plus determinant of A into identity matrix of order 2 is a null matrix. Okay, this is not 0, this is null matrix. Okay, now what is the trace of our matrix? The trace of our matrix is 5. If you add the diagonal elements 1 and 4, you will get 5. Okay, and what will the determinant of A be? 1 into 4 minus 2 into 3, so minus 2. So what is the equation? Okay, this equation is actually called as the characteristic equation. Okay, and its roots are called as the eigenvalues of the matrix, but let's not talk about that now. So we have got this equation, A squared minus 5A minus 2i equal to null matrix. Let me again explain you how I got minus 5 and minus 2. Okay, remember this minus sign is there already. Okay, trace of A was 5, so minus 5A plus the determinant of A. Now because the determinant of A has a negative sign, it will sit there. Okay, so minus 2i equal to 0, and therefore A squared minus 5A, okay, which is the matrix that you are looking for, must be equal to 2i. So you have to shift this negative 2i to the other side, and even by this you will get the same option, that is option A. And see, now you should not get surprised, or you should not be surprised if, irrespective of any, well, you can actually come up with such an MCQ for any matrix A. For example, let's take some random entries, 3 1 minus 5 4, let's say. Okay, so suppose we wish to form a similar question for like this. Okay, so then I can find A squared minus 7A, because the trace of this matrix is now 7. Okay, and we know that A squared minus 7A is going to be negative of the determinant of A into the identity matrix. Okay, now the determinant is 12 minus 5, right? 12 minus 5, so 17. So A squared minus 7 is going to be negative 17. So in general you can apply this for any 2 by 2 matrix, and it also applies to 3 by 3 matrix, but that is slightly complicated because it involves the minors of the diagonal elements and so on. Okay, so I have now told you 2 methods to solve this example, and both of the methods obviously have given us the same answer, that is 2i. So that is the first question. Let's now go to the second one. Question number 2. Now this question is based on the properties of matrix addition. Okay, if A is 2 1 minus 1 2, B is 1 minus 2 2 1, and C is 1 minus 3 2 1, then A plus B equals B plus A, and A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. Option B, A plus B equal to B plus A and AC equal to BC. Option C, A plus B equal to B plus A and AB equal to BC. Option D, AC equal to BC and A equal to BC. Okay. Now, because in CET only one option is correct, if we select it, then there is no need to check the validity of the remaining options. Okay. And as far as possible, we will try to avoid the products, because multiplying two matrices is a time consuming task. Okay. So if you know the properties of matrix addition, that it is commutative, that means A plus B equals B plus A, and is associative, that means if we have three matrices, then it doesn't matter whether you add B and C first and then add A to that, or whether you add A and B first and then add C to that. Okay, so because the matrix addition is commutative and associative, we need to pick that one, well, provided these things are there, and it so happens that this is present right in the option A. A plus B equal to B plus A, commutative. A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C, associative. It is also there in option A. And we have studied in logic, if you have a conjunction, then both the propositions must be true. Okay, and we know that they are true for matrix addition. In fact, these are the properties of matrix addition. Okay, so question 2, option A. There is no need to check whether AC is equal to BC or AB equal to BC. or A equal to BC. Okay, once we have got the right option, it will be the right one, because unlike JEE Advanced, in CET only one of the options is correct. Okay, so that is question 2. Let's go to question 3. Okay, see, now question 3 is actually based on determinants. Okay, matrix A is given -2 4 -1 2. Then A squared is equal to null matrix, unit matrix, then identity matrix. Okay, so B and C are same, so definitely B and C are not right, and D is 0 0 1 1. Okay, now because you cannot have two options, and here B is unit matrix or identity matrix, and so is C 1 0 0 1, so it has to be either A or D. Okay, now the only difference between A and D is this entry here, that is A22. Okay, so like we did in the first problem, if we just calculate A22 of the product, or A raised to 2, if it is 0 then option A, if it is non-zero then it will be D. Okay, now to find the element A22 of the product, we will consider the second row of the prefactor and the second column of the post factor. Okay, so what will it be? -1 into 4 plus 2 into 2, 0. So we take the dot product, right, of the row and the column. Is it 0? Yes. So can it be D? No, it cannot be D. And even for I unit matrix, it has 1 here. Okay, so we cannot consider options B, C and D, so it has to be option A. See, if you don't think how to solve this problem, then you will proceed as usual. That means we'll first find this element, then this element, then this element, and then this element. Okay, and then you will conclude whether it is A, B, C or D. Okay, however, if you spend some time in actually analyzing the problem, not too much, some time, and if you get it, then you can easily solve the problem. Correct? See, I mean, you can even find this element for that. Okay, if it is 0, then B, C already are ruled out. See, but again, there is a tie between A and D. If you go to this, right, if you get 0 here, which you will eventually get, then you will say, okay, B and C are eliminated, but what about A and D? So you have to go to D, this one, A22. So why bother checking what A11 is? Directly go to A22. Okay, and see, now these things will come to you only when you solve all these problems on your own. Okay, that's the main point. Correct? So that was question 3. Let's go to question 4. Yeah, now question 4 has something to do with pair of straight lines. I'll tell you at the end of the question. Okay, question 4. If A is the row matrix, we call it row vector because it has only one row, X, Y, Z. B is A, H, G, H, B, F, G, F, C, and C is X, Y, Z. Then A, B, C is a null matrix F. Now this O is actually not 0. Okay, it is a null matrix, and if you look at these orders, A contains 1 row and 3 columns, B is a square matrix, no doubt, 3 by 3, and C is a column vector. Okay, it contains 3 rows and 1 column. Now just like matrix addition, matrix multiplication is also associative but not commutative. Okay, it is associative. So AB into C equal to A into BC. Correct? Certainly does not matter. If you first perform A into B, then that will result into a matrix whose order is 1 cross 3. Okay, let's call it E. And if you then multiply this matrix E, post multiply by C, then you will get a matrix whose order will be 1 cross 1. Okay, and they want it to be a null matrix. Now to solve this question, what I have done is I have first multiplied the matrices A and B. Okay, here. Now as I pointed out, A into B is going to be a matrix with 1 row and 3 columns. Okay, so it will be of the same order as that of A, and I have done that for you. Its first entry will be AX plus HY plus GZ. Second will be HX plus BY plus FZ, yes, and the third one will be GX plus FY plus CZ. Okay, and then you can, so this is our E, and then you can post multiply this by C. Okay, then eventually you will get AX squared plus 2HXY, well sorry, AX squared plus HXY plus GXZ plus HXY plus BY squared plus FYZ plus GXZ plus FYZ plus CZ squared. Okay, so it will be a null matrix if this equation is true. Okay, so the if you want any product of matrices to be a null matrix, every element or every entry of the product should be 0, but because this is a matrix of order 1, it should be equal to 0. Now you have already seen this particular matrix, or it's the determinant AH, GH, BF, GFC. Okay, you have seen this in the context of general equation of second degree in X and Y. Okay, in the chapter on pair of straight lines. But if you remember the first part of this chapter, pair of straight lines, then you have this equation. Let me write it in the green color now. AX squared plus 2HXY plus BY squared equal to 0. Okay, now what do you call this equation? You call this equation homogeneous equation of second degree in X and Y. Yes, now homogeneous means every term has the same degree, and in this case it is 2, and you consider all possible combinations of X and Y, so X squared, Y squared and XY, and it represents a pair of straight lines. So have you ever wondered, if we consider the homogeneous equation of third degree in X, Y and Z, what surface it might represent? Okay, so that actually represents a cone, okay, which may not be a right circular cone, but cone in general with vertex at the origin. Okay, so you will study about cones in engineering mathematics, but as of now I want you to take a note of this. If you have a homogeneous equation of second degree in X and Y, then pair of straight lines. See, that's why it is important to write in X and Y. But if you have a homogeneous equation of second degree in X, Y and Z, then it represents a cone. Okay, you can prove it. Now we'll come back to the question. We already have answered it. AX squared plus BY squared plus CZ squared plus 2HXY. See, now 2HXY, where is it? Yes, it is present here. Okay, and also here, but this is not homogeneous because we don't have second degree terms there. 2HXY plus 2FYZ plus 2GZX equal to null matrix. Okay, so it is D. Yes. So although this problem is based on matrix multiplication, okay, it is used to, well, it is actually telling you something regarding the homogeneous equation of second degree in X, Y and Z. Okay, now quite often you will find such representations, okay, X transposed B into X, because A and C are nothing but transposes of one another, okay, equal to something. So such representations are common in linear algebra. You will definitely study them in your next year. Okay, so that is question 4. Question number 5. If A is the matrix 0 3 3 minus 3 0 minus 4, minus 3 4 0 and B is the column vector xyz, then B transposed A into B is a null matrix, a singular matrix, a unit matrix, or a symmetric matrix. Okay, now if you observe A, it is a 3 by 3 matrix, diagonal elements are 0, and see, it is definitely not symmetric, it is skew symmetric. Okay, so skew symmetric matrices have this property: Aij is equal to minus A ji. You might already know that. Okay, so first what I've done is I have pre-multiplied matrix B by matrix A. Okay, and if you do that, A is of the order 3 cross 3, B is of the order 3 cross 1, so you'll again get a column vector 3 cross 1. Okay, 0 into x plus 3 into y plus 3 into z, so 3y plus 3z. Similarly, if you go to the second and the third rows of A, you will get 3x minus 4z and minus 3x plus 4y, right? And then I have pre-multiplied AB by B transposed. Okay, now B is a column vector, so B transposed will be a row vector xyz. Okay, and if you do that, it will be x into this plus y into that plus z into that. Okay, so it will be 3xy, which will cancel this 3xy, 3zx minus 3zx minus 4yz plus 4yz. Okay, so you will get a null matrix of order 1 by 1. Okay, see, now there are multiple options correct here because it is a null matrix, so definitely option A. And which matrix is a singular matrix? Any matrix whose determinant is 0 is called as a singular matrix. Okay, and if you go to any null matrix which is a square matrix, then it is definitely symmetric. Okay, so all three are correct, but in my opinion you should mark option A, because you can have singular matrices which may not necessarily be null matrices, and you can also have symmetric matrices which need not necessarily be null matrices. Okay, but as far as this problem is concerned, all three options are correct. And can you come up with a general result? Yes, that general result is if A is skew symmetric, then x transposed into A into x is always a null matrix, where x is the vector x, y, z, which is that role of x is now being played by B. Okay, yes, so that was question 5. Let's go to 6th. Now 6 is very simple. Okay, a square matrix is an orthogonal matrix F. A into A transposed is a null matrix. A plus A transposed is identity matrix. A into A transposed is identity matrix, or none of these. Okay, now by definition you call a square matrix orthogonal if its transpose is its inverse. Okay, so it's definitely option C, because A into A inverse is identity matrix, but if A is orthogonal, then A inverse is A transposed. Okay, so it is option C. Now you can actually prove, it's not very difficult to prove that if the square matrix is orthogonal, then determinant of A is either plus 1 or minus 1. Okay, and I will give you an example of an orthogonal matrix. Cos theta sin theta minus sin theta cos theta. You must have seen this matrix in your textbook, right? So this is now an orthogonal matrix, because if you transpose it and square, because of this identity and the rules of matrix multiplication, its square will be, well, okay, not square, sorry, it's the matrix into its transposed. By mistake I said square, okay, because you have this negative sign here, so it can't be a symmetric matrix. Okay, it will be 1 0 0 1. Okay, which is it indeed the identity matrix. So the transpose of A is actually its inverse. See, now what they will do is they will not give you theta. Okay, sorry, they will give you some random theta, let's say pi by 4 or pi by 15, anything like that. But you have to realize that it is, if it is orthogonal, then its transpose itself is its inverse. Okay, because see, cos of pi by 15, which is 12 degrees, is not the angle whose trigonometric ratios are known to many students. Well, at least I don't know them. Okay, like 30 degrees or 60 degrees. But if you know this, that it is an orthogonal matrix, then you can actually solve the problem very quickly. Okay, just in case if someone asks you what is the inverse of that matrix, if you know this, then you will just say, okay, it is an orthogonal matrix, so its inverse must be its transpose. Okay, the other thing about orthogonal matrices is this. Okay, if you consider its rows or its columns, okay, and if you take their dot product, it will be 0. For example, consider the first row. Okay, let's now treat it as a vector, and let's consider the second row. Okay, if you take the dot product of its rows, it will be minus sine theta cos theta plus sine theta cos theta, which is 0. Okay, now you know that both sine theta and cos theta cannot be 0 simultaneously. Okay, which means these vectors are perpendicular to each other. Yes, and a more fancy word for perpendicular is orthogonal. Okay, so it is called as an orthogonal matrix because its rows as well as its columns are perpendicular to each other. Now you can have physical interpretations in 2 by 2 and in 3 by 3 matrices. Okay, because they represent directions. If you go to 4 by 4, things slightly get complicated, but nonetheless you still call them orthogonal. Okay, so that is question 6. Let's go to 7th. Yes, now question 7 is a very simple question. You have matrix A and you have matrix B, and they have asked us to calculate the order of AB. I think this is a very old question. A 3 by 2, 3 rows 2 columns. B 2 by 3, 2 rows 3 columns. So A into B will be of the order 3 by 3, right? So a square matrix of order 3. Yes, so option B. Now just in case if they had asked us to check what's the order of B into A, then it will be 2 cross 2. Okay, now this itself is the best proof for the fact that A into B is not commutative. Because A into B is a square matrix of order 3, whereas B into A is a square matrix of order 2. Okay, so definitely there is no chance that C is equal to D. Okay, but if they had asked B into A, then its order would have been 2 by 2. Okay, so A. So that's 7. Let's go to 8th. Yeah. Now, in question 8, A plus I is given. So you have to now assume that I is the identity matrix of appropriate order. A plus I is 3 minus 2, 4, 1. Then A plus I into A minus I is equal to minus 5 minus 4, 8 minus 9, minus 5, 4 minus 8, 9, 5, 4, 8, 9, and minus 5 minus 4 minus 8 minus 9. Okay, so now what I have done is I have observed the columns of all 4 options, and you will now find that except B and D, every matrix has different first column: minus 5, 8, 5, 8, minus 5 minus 8. Okay, so if we just find the first column of a plus I into a minus I, our job will be done. Okay, yes, so that's exactly what I've done here. We know a plus I, 3 minus 2 4 1. So how to find a minus I? Just subtract 2i from a plus I, right? So it will be 3 minus 2 1, this will be unchanged, 4 minus 0 4 unchanged, 1 minus 2 minus 1. Okay, so a minus I is now ready. 1 minus 2 4 minus 1, put it there. Now see, we don't want a minus I into a plus I, we want a plus I into a minus I. Okay, a plus I is already known, 3 minus 2 4 1. Now just focus on the first column. Now to get the first column, we must consider the rows of the prefactor but the first column of the post factor. Okay, 3 into 1 plus 4 into minus 2, so that is minus 5. Yes, so C is not right because it has 5 in it. Yes, now go to the second row of the prefactor, 4 1, and for first column. Now see, now everything is positive, so it must be positive, and B and D have 8 1 negative, minus 8, so that must be option A, right? 4 into 1 plus 1 into 4. See, now there is no need to actually do that. If you just observe that everything is positive in the second row of the prefactor and the first column of the post factor, should be happy that you have got the correct option, that is A. See, now how much time did we save here? We did not find this, we did not find that. Okay, and in CET, these minute things will play a major role in deciding your rank, correct? Yes, so that was question 8. Let's go to question 9 now. Question number 9. If A is 1 minus 1, 2 minus 1, and B is 1A, 4B, and A plus B the whole squared is equal to A squared plus B squared, then A and B are respectively 1 minus 1, 2 minus 3, minus 1, 1, 3 minus 2. Okay. Now at first this problem seems to tell us that you need to find the values of both A and B. But remember, this is a multiple choice question and not a theory question. So once we pick the correct option, our job will be done, correct? So let's start. We will start with this equation given in the problem. Okay, that A plus B squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Okay. Now if you expand A plus B bracket squared, remember A and B are not numbers. Okay, they are matrices. So the matrix multiplication is not commutative as we have seen earlier. So if you expand A plus B squared, it will be A squared plus B squared plus AB plus BA. Okay. In the case of numbers, we would have just written 2AB, but for matrices you have to write AB and BA separately. Okay. Now what does it mean when they say that A plus B squared is A squared plus B squared? It means addition of these two matrices is a null matrix. Okay, or AB is equal to minus BA. Okay, so again what I have done is I have not actually computed AB and BA completely. I have computed them partially. Okay, see, because we are not interested in those entries of AB and BA which do not contain A and B, right? So it makes no sense to go to the first row of A and first column of B, as well as second row of A and first column of B. Okay, so let's go to this. 1 into A plus minus 1 into B, so A minus B. Do the same thing for B. Okay, so it will be first row, second column, so 1 into minus 1 plus A into minus 1 minus A. Okay, see, now this is enough, right? Because if AB is equal to B minus A, minus B into A, if this element of BA, it's in the first row, second column, right? When you multiply it by minus 1, it must be 1 plus A. Yes, and that is equal to A minus B. Okay, so A minus B equals A plus 1. A gets cancelled. Minus B is equal to 1, or B is equal to minus 1. Now fortunately there is only one option which has B negative 1, so it is option Okay, a tricky question, and you can save a lot of time by avoiding unnecessary calculations, correct? So that is option A. Now, if the examiner sets one more option with b's value -1, then that is going to take some additional time. Okay, then you will be required to consider even this. Okay, yes, but otherwise it's okay, right? So that is question 9. Let's go to 10. 10, another question where entire matrix multiplication is not required or not necessary. A is now a 3 by 3 matrix and they're asking what A squared is. Null matrix, A itself, unit matrix, or scalar matrix. Okay, now see, this question not only tests you whether you have understood how to multiply two matrices, however it also tests you how many matrix types you know, whether you know null matrix, whether you know unit matrix, whether you know what a scalar matrix is. Now most of you do know null matrix and unit matrix, but you may not be knowing scalar matrix. Okay, so scalar matrix is a diagonal matrix whose diagonal entries are zero, well, identical, a, b, 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 or like that. Okay, see, now it is enough to check the first two entries of A squared. Okay, I'll tell you the reason. Let's first focus on A11. Okay, so to get that, we must multiply the first column of A by the first row of A. 2 into 2, 4, minus 1 into minus 2 plus 2, plus 1 into minus 4 minus 4, so that is 2. Okay, see, now this eliminates A and C, because for A it should be 0, for C it should have been 1, so it's either B or D. Okay, now as I told you, for a scalar matrix all other entries should be zeros, so it's enough to check what the next entry is, which is in the first row, second column. So stick to the first row of A and consider its second column. 2 into minus 1 minus 2, plus minus 1 into 3 minus 3, plus 1 into 4. Now here itself you realize that it is not equal to 0, so it cannot be a scalar matrix, so it is A itself. Okay, see, now we have actually not computed the remaining 7 entries. Again, we are saving time because our job is not to solve the problem completely, but just to pick the correct option. Okay, so A squared is A itself. That is question 10. Question number 11. If A of alpha is cos alpha sin alpha minus sin alpha cos alpha, then the matrix A squared alpha is A of 2 alpha, A of alpha, A of 3 alpha, or your A of 4 alpha. Okay, now this particular problem is based on not only matrices but also on trigonometry, because it requires you to know some identities or formulas from trigonometry, particularly the double angle formulas. Okay, how? Let's just find the square of A. It will be cos alpha into cos alpha plus sin alpha into minus sin alpha, which is cos squared alpha minus sin squared alpha cos 2 alpha. Okay, second one, cos into sin plus sin into cos, so that is 2 sin alpha cos alpha, that is sin 2 alpha. Now these two entries are enough to establish that A squared alpha is actually going to be A of 2 alpha, which means this entry of A squared, the first entry, is cos of 2 alpha, and the second entry of A squared is sin of 2 alpha, whereas in the original matrix it is the single angle alpha alpha. Okay, so A squared alpha is A of 2 alpha, option A. Let's go to question 12. A slightly difficult question, so we'll see that. Okay, in the 12th question we have two matrices. If A is cos squared alpha cos alpha sin alpha, cos alpha sin squared alpha, and B is cos squared beta cos beta sin beta, cos beta sin squared beta are two matrices such that the product AB is a null matrix, then alpha minus beta is 0, multiple of pi, an odd multiple of pi by 2 or none of the above. Okay, so you have to start with the product AB as null matrix. Okay, so all its entries are 0. Alright, so first what I did is I found out A11 of AB. Okay, so it is cos squared alpha into cos squared beta plus cos alpha sin alpha into cos beta sin beta. Okay, then I took cos alpha and cos beta common from the two terms, and inside the bracket we will now have cos alpha cos beta plus sin alpha sin beta equal to 0, because everything is 0, this product being a null matrix, that's given. Okay, so when can a product of three terms be 0? When any one of them is 0. So if cos alpha is 0, then alpha becomes 2n plus 1 times pi by 2, trigonometric equation. Same thing with beta, odd multiple of pi by 2, or cos of alpha minus beta becomes 0. Okay, so this time we are using the compound angle formula cos of a plus b. Well, sorry, not a plus b, a minus b. Okay, cos of a minus b is cos a cos b plus sin a sin b. So there can be three possibilities where the first entry of AB is 0. And those possibilities are alpha equal to odd multiple of pi by 2, beta equal to odd multiple of pi by 2, or alpha minus beta equal to odd multiple of pi by 2. See, now right here you can say that alpha minus beta is or has to be an odd multiple of pi by 2, but you can again ask the question, what if alpha is equal to beta? Okay, and both are odd multiples of pi by 2. In that case, both will be 0, so their difference can either be 0 or even a multiple of pi, right? Because 0 is a multiple of pi, isn't it? So we'll keep this in with us and we'll go to the second entry. Okay, so this time what I have considered is I have considered the second row of A and the second column of B. Okay, so cos alpha sin alpha into cos beta sin beta plus sin squared alpha sin squared beta equal to 0. So this time we need to take sin alpha sin beta common. Okay, so sin alpha equal to 0 or sin beta equal to 0, or again this term is now going to appear, cos alpha cos beta plus sin alpha sin beta. Okay, so either sin alpha is 0 or sin beta is 0, or cos of alpha minus beta equal to 0. See, now again cos of alpha minus beta has appeared. In the first term it did appear, and it also has appeared now in the second term. See, but still there are possibilities. Okay, and those possibilities are, although sin alpha and cos alpha cannot be 0 simultaneously, what if sin alpha is 0 here and cos beta is 0 there? That might also be a possibility. Yes. Okay, well, it will eventually boil down to alpha minus beta equal to an odd multiple of pi by 2, but still. Okay, so we have now checked for the first row of the product AB. Let's now go to the second row. Okay, so this time I have considered first row and second column. Yeah, okay, first row and second column, that's what I've considered now. Yes, so cos squared alpha into cos beta sin beta plus cos alpha sin alpha into sin squared beta equal to 0. So again, see, now this time you can take cos alpha sin beta common. Inside the bracket, cos alpha cos beta plus sin alpha sin beta equal to 0. So again that factor is popping up, cos of alpha minus beta. Okay, but see, this is actually one of the possibilities which we talked about earlier. What if cos alpha is 0 and sin beta is 0, or what if sin alpha is 0 or cos beta is 0? That's what happens if you consider the remaining combination of the row and the column. And if you do that, then you will find that cos of alpha minus beta is making its appearance everywhere. Okay, and because these four possibilities are, I should say, exhaustive, eventually it boils down to the conclusion that alpha minus beta has to be an odd multiple of pi by 2, So irrespective of the individual values of alpha minus beta, well, they need not be such that cos alpha is 0 or sin beta is 0, or cos beta is 0 and sin alpha is 0. As and when alpha minus beta is an integral, well, odd integral multiple of pi by 2, their product is always going to be a null matrix. Okay, so correct option is C. An odd multiple of pi by 2 is the correct option for alpha minus beta. Okay, so that is question 12. Let's go to question 13. Yeah, now question 13 is, according to me, is at a slightly higher level than the intended level of CET, but anyways, good question. If A is a square matrix of order n cross n, then adjoint of adjoint A is equal to. Now this is quite unusual, right? We all of us know how to find adjoint of any matrix, but not all of us give this a thought. What could adjoint of adjoint A be? Okay, and you will now see that all of them happen to be multiples of A. Option A is determinant of A raised to n into A. Option B, determinant of A raised to n minus 1A. Option C is determinant of A raised to n minus 2 times A, and option D is determinant of A raised to n minus 3 times A. Okay, but because we know what an adjoint is and a relation between A and adjoint A, we can solve this problem. Okay, but you should also know some properties of the determinant, so we'll see that now. Okay, now the adjoint pops up in our context in terms of inverse. Okay, so 1 upon determinant of A into adjoint A is the inverse. Okay, so if you use the relation A into A inverse is the identity matrix and replace A inverse by 1 upon determinant of A into adjoint of A, and if you know the properties of matrix multiplication and determinants, then you can write it as A into adjoint A equal to determinant of A raised to, well, determinant of A into A. Okay, I think I should explain this again. See, we have A into 1 upon determinant of A into adjoint A equal to I. Okay, see now, although I have written multiplication signs here, A and adjoint A are matrices and 1 upon determinant of A is a scalar or a number. Okay, so you can shift it there, and that's what we have here. A into adjoint A equal to determinant of A into identity matrix. Okay, see, which means if product of A and B is C, determinant of A into determinant of B is determinant of C, an important property of determinants. Okay, so from this we can get the determinant of adjoint of A. Okay, it is going to be determinant of A raised to n minus 1. Now how is this true? Okay, if the determinant of the identity matrix is 1, what is determinant of this matrix? Okay, determinant of A into I. See, now if you are multiplying any matrix, okay, if you are multiplying any matrix by a number, you are multiplying each and every element of that matrix. Okay, now this being an identity matrix, if you multiply it by determinant of A, then you will get a scalar matrix and all its entries will be determinant of A. Okay, and you have to understand this fact, and everything else will be 0. Okay, so if you take the product of these diagonal elements, that's how you find the determinant of any scalar matrix or diagonal matrix. It will be determinant of A raised to n. Okay, so even the second step is important, which is based on two things. First, if A into B is C for 3 matrices, then determinant of A into determinant of B is equal to determinant of C. Second, if you are multiplying any determinant by a, well, I should not say determinant, if you are multiplying any matrix by a number, and if you are finding the determinant of the resulting matrix, it is determinant of well, original determinant into the nth power of the number, okay, with which you multiplied the original matrix. Okay, so that determinant of a raised to n into 1, but that's fine. Okay, so that gives us adjoint a's determinant as determinant of a raised to n minus 1, and this itself can be considered as a multiple choice question. What is the determinant of adjoint of a? It is determinant of a raised to n minus 1. Okay, see now how is this useful irrespective of the problem? Let's say you are given a 3 by 3 matrix, okay, and you know how much time it takes to find the adjoint. Okay, irrespective of how good you are in calculations, it is definitely going to take some time in calculating adjoint of it. And if the problem asks you to calculate its determinant, if you know this relation, it will be simple, because it is a lot easier to find determinant of a. You already know the order, so you just need to find determinant of a and square it because the order is 3. Correct? So you can expect such questions in CET. What is the determinant of adjoint of any matrix? It's determinant of a raised to n minus 1. This is the general expression. If you have numbers here, find its determinant and just square that determinant. That will give you the determinant of the adjoint. Okay. See, but that's not it. That's not it. What we want is adjoint of adjoint a. And to do that, let me again go back to this relation. Okay. Now this is true for any matrix A. Is adjoint of A matrix? So it must be true for adjoint of A as well. Okay. So instead of A, now I have written adjoint of A. So adjoint of A into adjoint of A. This is what we want, equal to determinant of A. So determinant of adjoint of A into identity matrix. Okay. So let me again repeat this step. A into adjoint A equal to determinant of A into I is the starting point. Okay, it is applicable to any square matrix A. So we are now applying that property on the adjoint. Okay, so adjoint A into adjoint of adjoint A equal to determinant of adjoint A into identity matrix. If this is clear to you, then the next step should be very much clear. Okay, so now we are pre-multiplying by the inverse of the adjoint. Now you have to assume that A is non-singular. Okay, so if A is non-singular, then its adjoint will also be non-singular. Okay, so adjoint of adjoint A will then be, see now what happens when you pre-multiply by the inverse of the adjoint of A? This matrix goes, because its inverse into that matrix will be identity matrix. Yes, and that's what I have done it here. Okay, on the right hand side it is going to be adjoint A's inverse into determinant of adjoint A into identity matrix. Okay, yes. Now again you need to use this property. Okay, that property is this: AB's inverse is B inverse into A inverse. Okay, and if you are taking the inverse of k times I, okay, it is going to be 1 upon k times I. You can check it. Now these are few standard results, and we would like to use those properties here. Okay, how? First we will consider the product A into adjoint of A, and we'll take its inverse. Okay, so it is going to be equal to adjoint of A inverse into A inverse. Clear? Yes, but see now that is based on this property. A into adjoint A inverse is equal to adjoint A inverse into A inverse. AB inverse is B inverse into A inverse. Okay, but what is adjoint of A? Adjoint of A is nothing but determinant of A into I. Well, sorry, adjoint of A inverse into A inverse. Okay, yes. So if that is true, then adjoint of A inverse into A inverse will be determinant of A into I inverse, which is 1 upon determinant of A into I. Okay, let me again explain this. Okay, first thing, A into adjoint of A inverse is adjoint of A inverse into A inverse. Yes, it is based on the first property, but what is A into adjoint A? A into adjoint A is also determinant of A into I, the relation with which we started our problem, this one. Yes. Okay, so what's that telling us is A into adjoint A's inverse is 1 upon determinant of A into identity matrix. Okay, so if we consider this and that, the circle, that will give us adjoint A's inverse. What will it be? Just multiply by A. So it's 1 upon determinant of A into A. Okay, now why did we find it? First of all, we found it because we required it here. So even this is now some material for another MCQ. What is the inverse of the adjoint? It is 1 upon determinant of A into A. Okay, you can also note this down, that adjoint of A's inverse is always 1 upon determinant of A into A. Okay, yes. So then all we need to do is substitution. Adjoint of A inverse should be put there. So adjoint of adjoint A will be 1 upon determinant of A into A into A raised to, or determinant of A raised to n minus 1 into I. Okay, yes, because we have already calculated the determinant of adjoint there. Sorry, not there, just a second. Yeah, here. This is, okay, let me mark it by star. It's this. Okay, yes. So that finally gives us the result. A into I is A, determinant of A raised to n minus 1 upon determinant of A is determinant of A raised to n minus 2 into A. Okay, and that is option C. Now, this question primarily consists of 3 parts. Okay, first, establishing the, okay, let me now use white color, establishing the determinant of adjoint. First. Second thing, establishing the inverse of the adjoint. And step 3, putting everything in the expression for adjoint of adjoint A. Okay, so in my opinion, what you should do is you should go through this solution or this explanation once again. Okay, write down each and every point by pausing the video. Try to spend some time in understanding what steps have been done, and I've already told you that this MCQ has enough material for 2 more MCQs. What is the determinant of adjoint and what is the inverse of the adjoint? Okay, so give it some time, it's not very difficult to understand. Okay, so that is question 13. Let's go to 14th, system of equations. Okay, question 14. For the equations x plus 2y plus 3z equal to 1, 2x plus y plus 3z equal to 2, and 5x plus 5y plus 9z equal to 4, there is only one solution. There exists infinitely many solutions. There is no solution, none of the above. Okay, now in our 12th standard syllabus we only have the first case. There is only one solution. We don't have infinitely many solutions case or no solution case. So there itself option A should be chosen. Okay, see, now if you have a system of linear equations, okay, you can actually classify it into 3 categories. Okay, any system, either it will have unique solution, or it won't have any solution, or it will have infinitely many solutions. Okay, So if someone tells you that you have a system of linear equations which has two solutions, then you have to reject it. You have to say that okay, it must have infinitely many solutions, either one or no or infinitely many. Okay, you can prove it. So I have actually solved this problem by two methods, the reduction method and the inversion method, obviously. Okay, method 1, reduction. So what I have done is I have not written the xyz part. 1 2 3 2 1 3 5 5 9 is the matrix of the coefficients, and 1 2 4 is the matrix of the constant. So I have combined them in a single matrix, because anyways we are doing row reduction. And when you combine these two matrices, you get a matrix which is often called as the augmented matrix. Okay, we'll study this in linear algebra and engineering, but anyways. Okay, now our job is to reduce this to an upper triangular matrix. So we will first target these two elements. We'll make them zeros. R2 minus 2R1, R3 minus 5R1. I have done that. Okay, and then because we have minus 3 there, I multiplied the second row by 1 upon minus 3. Okay, so that gave me 1 1 0 there, and then the last operation is R3 plus 5R2. Okay, to make this element 0. And we have successfully reduced it to an upper triangular matrix. Okay, well, let's not now find y and x, but definitely z is going to be minus 1, and then I guess y will be 1. Okay, so that is unique solution or option A. Yes. Okay, now we can actually discuss the possibilities of unique no solution and infinitely many solutions, but maybe some other time. Okay, so that is 14th, method 1. Let's go to method 2. See, now in method 2, all you have to do is just find the determinant. If it is non-zero, unique solution, because inverse exists, so you can apply the method of inversion. Okay, so determinant of A, 1 2 3 2 1 3 5 5 9. Just expand and find the determinant. It will be 15, definitely non-zero, so A inverse exists, so unique solution, option A. Question number 15. The inverse of this particular matrix is, now this is a 3 by 3 matrix. Remember, whenever you are finding inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix in a multiple choice question, it's not necessary to find all 9 entries of the inverse. Okay, so don't go to the adjoint method and start finding the inverse. Okay, if you observe the options, okay, A13 is different for all 4 options, correct? Which means if we just manage to find that element of the inverse, that is going to do the job for us, right? Yes. So how to find the A13 of the inverse? It is 1 upon determinant of A into adjoint of A. Yes. So you will definitely need the determinant, and if you find the matrix of cofactors, okay, you take its transpose, right? Which means you need the cofactor of this 3, because that will take the position of A13. Okay, so let's quickly find the cofactor of that 3. First row, third column, addition of row number and column number is even, so even its minor would do. Minor is 3 minus 4, so that is minus 1. Okay, but what needs to be determined is the determinant. Okay, now it is the first element is 0, minus 1 into 1 minus 9, so minus 8, plus 2 into 1 minus 6, so minus 5, 8 minus 10, so minus 2. Okay, so the cofactor is minus 1 and the determinant is minus 2, so that element is 1 upon 2. And so see, now it is neither B nor C nor D, so it is option A. Okay, See, now the time that it took us to solve this MCQ is considerably smaller or lesser than the adjoint method. Forget the elementary row transformations methods. Okay, so you need to be, I would say you need to observe the options carefully, particularly in finding the inverse of a matrix. Okay, just identify the entry which is different and only do that part from the adjoint method which is necessary, like finding the cofactor of this, because after taking the transpose it will be there. Okay, so that is question 15, option A. Question number 16. The solution of the equation 1 0 1 minus 1 1 0 0 minus 1 1 x y z equal to 1 1 2 is x y z, and we need to find the order triplet x y z. Do not use the reduction method or inversion method, just check the options. What is the third row telling us? Minus y plus z equal to 2. Yes, so that is the first thing that I have used. Minus y plus z equal to 2, so clearly not A. Minus y plus z is 0. Same thing with C, minus y plus z is not 2. If you go to B, then minus y plus z is 3. So it is only in option D that minus y plus z is 2. So it's D. Okay. I guess I started with the first row, x plus z equal to 1. So that eliminated options A and B, because x plus z is 2 there. And then if you consider minus y plus z equal to 2, that is the third equation, then C also gets eliminated. So it is option D. Okay, see, the point that I'm trying to make in such MCQs is, if you can eliminate the options fairly quickly, then please eliminate them. Don't go with the standard or well established methods. Okay, only because of the time constraint in the CET. So question 16, option D. Next, question 17, a very simple MCQ. Okay, if you remember in the chapter on determinants, you had the expansion of the determinant along any row or any column. Okay, so what you do is you take any row, you take the elements and you multiply them by their cofactors and add them. That is how you get the determinant of A. Okay, and this is exactly based on that. If A is this matrix and Aij are the cofactors of Aij, then A11 A11 plus A12 A12 plus A13 A13 is equal to. So this is basically asking us to expand the determinant of A along the first row, 1 1 1 2 1 3. So that's as good as finding the determinant of A. 3 into 12 minus 2, 10 minus 2. See, now that minus sign comes because 2 is present in the first row, second column. So the sign of the minor will change. Okay, so minus 2 into 6 minus 3 3 plus 4 into 2 minus 6 minus 4. 30 minus 6 minus 16. 30 minus 6 is 24. 24 minus 16 is 8. Option A. A very simple MCQ, but be prepared for expansions of the determinant along R2, R3 or C1, C2, C3. Okay, see, now we are more familiar with expanding the determinant along the first row. So if it comes, let's say, second column or third column, you will be in an awkward situation. But if you know that this expansion is nothing but the determinant of A, then no matter which column or which row you use, you will always end up getting with the determinant's value. Okay, so that is the key point here. Question 17, let's go to 18th. Yes. Question 18. A is cos theta minus sin theta, cos theta. AB equal to BA equal to I. That implies that B is the inverse of A. Okay, then B is equal to. Now you can solve this problem by two methods. Okay, either you can use the ready-made formula to find the inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. So if ABCD is A, then its inverse is 1 upon AD minus BC into interchange the positions of A and D and change the signs of B and C. You can prove it by the adjoint method, and if you do that, then you will get the option B. Okay. And if you remember, in one of our previous sums, I told you about the orthogonal matrices. Where the transpose itself is its inverse, and this is one such matrix. Okay, so even then you can take the transpose and check that it is indeed option B. Correct. Now I have found out a lot of sums based on this particular formula, inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. So you can just remember this formula. Okay, question 18. Let's go to 19th now. Same. Well, the matrix is different, but essentially based on the same formula. Inverse of A. Okay, 1 upon AD minus BC. So it is 1 upon minus cos squared theta minus sin squared theta. So if you take that minus sign common, you will get minus 1 into. Change the positions of diagonal elements. So it will be minus cos theta, and just change the signs of the other two, sin theta, sin theta. And because the determinant is not plus 1, it is minus 1, every entry in the matrix should change its sign. So cos minus sin minus cos, cos minus sin minus cos. That is option A. Okay, question 19. Let's go to 20th. Well, 20th is the formula itself. If the matrix A is ABCD, then determinant of A raised to minus 1 equals. Okay, well, I think now this is slightly different. Okay, this is A inverse, and well, we know A inverse, what that is, AD minus BC into determinant of, well, the matrix DA minus B minus C. Okay, that is the inverse, but here they have not asked us the determinant of the inverse. They have actually asked us to find the reciprocal of the determinant. Okay, now determinant of A is AD minus BC, so its reciprocal will be 1 upon AD minus BC. So that is option B. Okay, yes, well, that one. See, now even if they had asked us to find the determinant of A inverse, it would have been 1 upon determinant of A. We know that. Okay, so that is also AD minus BC. 1 upon AD minus BC, so option B. Okay, see, that means if you find the determinant of A and take its inverse or reciprocal, it is as good as taking the determinant of its inverse. Okay, both are same. So that is 20. Well, I guess I missed 21. Yeah, 22. Multiplicative inverse. Well, you can now do it. Use the formula for A inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, and yes, I think 21 is also of similar type. Okay, that's why I have not taken it. So let's go to 23. Yes. Oh no, sorry. That was 22. That was 21. This is 22. Okay. Yes. Anyways, 22. The value of A for which the system of equations a cubed x plus a plus 1 cubed y plus a plus 2 cubed z equal to 0, ax plus a plus 1 y plus a2 z equal to 0, and x plus y plus z equal to 0 has a non-zero solution. Okay. Now, when you have a system of equations which do not have any constant term, or the constant term is 0, such systems of equations are called as homogeneous systems. Okay, so homogeneous systems of equations always have at least one solution. Okay, and that solution is 0, 0, 0. But they can or they may have non-zero solutions. So those non-zero solutions are called as the non-trivial solutions. Okay, again a term from linear algebra, non-trivial solutions. And the condition for the non-trivial solutions is that the determinant of A is 0. Okay, now this is suddenly a determinant problem based on the properties of the determinants. Okay, now what is the coefficient matrix? A cube, A plus 1 cube, A plus 2 cube, A plus 1, A plus 2, 1, 1, 1. Okay, now what I have done is I have just checked the options. I have not gone into the expansion of this determinant. Even if you use the properties of the determinants, it's going to take a lot of time. Okay, so just check the options. The most convenient option is 0. So check if substituting A equal to 0 gives you the determinant at 0. Okay, so 0, 0, 1, 1, 8, 2. Minus 1 into minus 2 plus 8 into minus 1. Definitely not 0, so B is not right. Then I went to C. Okay, so minus 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. So minus 1 into minus 1, so plus 1, 0, so don't consider that. 1 into minus 1, 0, so it is C. Okay, yes. Well, now it is not very difficult to arrive at this conclusion that for existence of non-trivial solutions, the determinant of A should be equal to 0. So I leave that to you. You can use the method of reduction to arrive at that particular conclusion. Basically, what you need is you need something like this: two linearly independent equations and one equation which is a linear combination of them. Okay, that is the condition for existence of non-trivial solutions. Okay, so that is 22. Question 23. If the matrix A is 1, 1, 0, 2, 1, 5, 1, 2, 1, then A11 into uppercase A21 plus A12 into uppercase A22 plus A13 into uppercase A23 is equal to. Now remember, when they have the lowercase letter a, then they represent the elements of the matrix, and when they use the uppercase letter a, it means they are representing the corresponding cofactors. Okay, now although we have the lowercase letters a11, a12 and a13, that means everything that covers the first row, we have a21, a22 and a23. That means we need to consider the cofactors of those elements in the second row. Okay, so we'll do that now. 1 into, so that is a11 into uppercase a21, because it is odd, 2 plus 1, don't forget to take that negative 1 into the minor of a21, which is 1120. Okay, no, sorry, 21, right? 1021, yeah, 1021, yes. Plus, see, now we are not expanding the determinant, so don't take this to be negative. Okay, plus 1 into, now my cofactor of a22, that means this one, because 2 plus 2 is even, its minor will be equal to its cofactor. Okay, cofactor is 1001 determinant. This is 0, so don't consider that. So minus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1, 0. So option B. Okay, a very straightforward question, but you should know that uppercase letter denotes cofactors and lowercase letters denotes the element. Other thing, the subscripts are different. So a11 is not being multiplied by a11, whereas a11 is being multiplied by a21. Okay, so that is another point where you may go wrong. So that is 23. Let's go to 24. Question number 24 is, if matrix A is 2, 2, minus 3, 2 and matrix B is 0, minus 1, 1, 0, then B inverse A inverse is equal to. Now by looking at this example, it appears that first we need to determine what B inverse is. Then we need to determine what A inverse is. Then we need to determine their product. And then at last we need to find the inverse of the product. Okay, but that's not necessary. Well, you can solve it, but it is going to take a lot of time despite knowing the formula of inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so this problem is based on the following property which we have used in that adjoint of adjoint A problem. Okay, which is AB inverse is B inverse into A inverse. So inverse of B inverse into A inverse, that's what we want, is nothing but AB inverse is inverse. Yes, if you identify this, your job is done. Because the matrix, if at all, has an inverse is unique, we can use this property then and then say that inverse of AB's inverse is AB itself. So all you need to do is to find the product of A and B. Again, how can you save time here? Observe that A12 is different. -2, 2, -3, -1. So it's enough to take the dot product of the first row of A and the second column of B. Okay, first row 2, 2, second column -1, 0. So that is 2 into -1 plus 2 into 0 or -2. Option A, correct? But remember this property, okay? B inverse into, well, not this, AB inverse is equal to B inverse into A inverse, and inverse of inverse is the matrix itself. Okay, this question 24 is based on that. Otherwise you have to follow this lengthy process, and all of us including me hate matrix multiplications, right? Yes. Good news is in engineering you are allowed to use calculators to multiply the matrices. Okay, so only in CET you will find yourselves in multiplying two matrices. Okay, so that's 24. 25, simple. If matrix A is 1, 2, 4, 3 such that AX equal to I, then X is equal to, clearly it is the inverse. Use the formula 1 upon the determinant 3 minus 8 minus 5 into, now you just change the positions of 1 and 3 and change the signs of 2 and 4. See, but you will not find any option with -5 outside, so just take that negative sign inside, so it will be -3 2, option C. Okay, and 4 -1. Question 25, option C. Question 26, yes. Again a matrix, a 3 by 3 matrix whose inverse has been asked. Okay, now this time it is a lower triangular matrix, so its determinant is -3. Okay, and you can see everywhere that 1 upon determinant of A is present, so the matrix is the adjoint now. Okay, we need to find the adjoint. Again, what I have done is I have not gone into finding the matrix of cofactors, that is finding the cofactors of all 9 elements of this matrix. So what I have done is I have just computed the cofactors of the first row. Okay, for 1, what will it be? -3. So this is going to be its minor as well as its cofactor, so -3 should be A11 of the adjoint. It's either A, B or D, so C is ruled out. Okay, then go to this element here. Now you need to change the sign of its minor, right? Its minor is -3, so its cofactor will be 3, but remember we take the transpose while finding the adjoint, so 3 must be the element in the second row first column and not in the first row second column, so that rules out D. You have -3 there. Okay, and here we have -9 and 9, so considering the cofactor of this will help us. Okay, first row third column, no need to change the sign of the minor. Minor is 6 minus 15, so -9, so cofactor is -9 and it is going to be the element in the third row first column, so it is not A, it is B. Okay, Now I've told you a lot of things about how to find the inverse of a 3 by 3 matrices or matrix using different examples. Okay, so once you develop that knack of finding the inverse by eliminating the options, particularly in the case of 3 by 3 matrices, it will help you. Okay, it will save your time, which you can utilize elsewhere. Question 27, another very simple question. For an invertible matrix A, if A into adjoint of A is 10 0 0 10, then determinant of A is, well, it's based on this. A into adjoint of A is equal to 1 upon determinant of A into I. Okay, and A into adjoint A is already known to us, right? Oh no, sorry, I think I made a horrible mistake here. It's not 1 upon determinant of A, it's determinant of A into I. Okay, recall that adjoint of adjoint is, there we have used this. It comes from the fact that A inverse is 1 upon determinant of A into adjoint A. Okay, so the determinant of A goes there. And when you multiply any matrix by a scalar, you multiply each and every element of the matrix, right? So it's 10 into I or 10 0 0 10. So determinant of A must be equal to 10 because this is the identity matrix. Okay, so it's not 100 nor minus 100 nor minus 10, it is plus 2. Okay, the option root 10 can also be there to confuse you. Okay, well, so that is question 27. Let's go to 28. I guess that is the last one. Yes. If the inverse of the matrix does not exist, then the value of alpha is. Simple question. The matrix inverse does not exist means it is singular or its determinant is 0. So just expand the determinant or matrix. Alpha into 9 minus 2 7 alpha, minus 14 into 6 minus 6 0, minus 1 into 4 minus 18 minus 14. So you'll get 7 alpha plus 14 equal to 0. So alpha is equal to minus 2, option D. Okay, so that is the end of MCQs from MHT-CET previous year's question papers based on the topic matrices. Okay, now just to conclude, I want you to go through solutions of those MCQs which are I should say which cannot be asked in the theory examination, particularly adjoint of adjoint. What is that? Determinant of A raised to n minus 2 into A. Or what is the determinant of the adjoint? Okay, so such questions are, I think, well, if you're preparing for JEE, you may have attempted these questions or similar questions, but if you have just given the board examination and now you are aiming for good marks in CET, then I think you should watch those solutions again and again and try to follow what I have done. Okay, otherwise some of these questions are very simple, like finding inverse of 2 by 2 matrices. Okay, if you remember the formula, your job will be done. Next point, for finding inverse of 3 by 3 matrices, okay, if you have watched our entire video, then in not even a single sum I have found out the inverse by adjoint method. Okay, what I have done is I have tried to eliminate the options, okay, by identifying those elements which are different in all 4 options. Okay, so please develop that technique of eliminating the options just to save your time. Okay, you are not required to find the adjoint by inverse by the adjoint method. Now, no matter how fast you are in determining the inverse by the adjoint method, okay, if you eliminate the options, that is always going to help. Correct? Yes. So that is the end of matrices. I thank you all for watching and subscribing to my channel. If you are not yet subscribed, please do that. Thank you.